everyone, it's Kelly. Welcome back to my channel. Today's video is going to be my April wrap-up. I read 11 books in April, so I'm starting to calm down with my reading. April was a very hectic month. As you can see, we changed our room around. I have new appliances. I have a new mirror that is a light. We have a new bathroom mirror. We just did a whole bunch of stuff, and yeah, so I was stressed about that. School, the beginning of April was our spring break, and I didn't read much of anything. I DNF'd my first book of the year, and that was The Daughters of Mars by Thomas Keneally, and this was one of my picks for the Buzzword Reading Challenge. It was space words and Mars. It's a planet, space. And I DNF'd this at 25% at page 127. This was the slowest book to get into. It was no bueno, no good. This set takes place during World War I, and it's about nurses from Australia, and they are stationed around Egypt, Alexandria, and in the Mediterranean. And I got as far as when they started painting the ship black and submarines. There is an author's note at the very beginning saying that there is no commas, there are dashes, because these were taken from journal entries. So nothing about no quotation marks. There is no quotation marks whatsoever. And I was just trying to remember who's who. All of these characters fell flat. They were bland. That's white rice. Yeah, so I was having to reread conversations over and over just to understand it and to make sure it was a conversation, and it was just bad. Thomas Keneally is the author of Schindler's List. I gave that a 4 out of 5, and I give this a 1 out of 5. Yeah. My first DNF ever, because I just do not want... After this month, the time I've had, I don't want to stick with a book I am not liking. So this will be a worst book of the year for me. I'm going to go in order of how I read the books. So the first book I finished in the month of April was Living Dead Girl by Kelly Gunderman. This was a blog tour spot for me a couple months ago, and I never got around to it, but this is about a girl named Caitlin, and she goes to this party with her friend, and her and her friend get wasted before they go to this party. This party is being held at this popular boy's house because it's the end of the year and it's about to be graduation. So she kisses her best friend and wants to make her feelings known. The friend pushes her away and walks off and goes home and leaves her friend at this party. So Caitlin is just bawling her eyes out because she's ruined this friendship, and this other popular boy, he consoles her. He says, come talk to me, let's go into this room and talk. And then he tries to rape her. And then these two other boys come into the room like, what the fuck are you doing? And we can't let her go, she'll tell on us and I'll lose my scholarship. And so this other boy tries to rape her, and then this third boy, he hesitates, but he doesn't stop his friends. And so she eventually gets away, and then she is murdered, and it's basically a long dragged out, am I dead? How am I dead? Oh, you did this to me. It's like a revenge poltergeist. She becomes a poltergeist. And I watch a lot of ghost shows. I watch a lot of ghost adventures. And I've read a couple of things about paranormal and how ghosts, like, paranormal experts, and how she became so poltergeisty so quickly and was able to pick things up and just kill them like days later. Then it wasn't realistic. I believe in ghosts. So, but yes, this is Caitlin's revenge story after her murder, and shitty editing. There in the author's note it says that the author's husband edited this 5 times, and dude, you got sloppy at the end. That's all I'm saying. It was very rushed at the end, and very a lot of errors at the very end. I think the husband forgot the ending, was like, oh, okay, it was good. No. The grammatical errors were consistent. Following her ghost around was boring, and character was a lesbian LGBTQ rep. And so, do I recommend this? If you're into paranormal and don't care about the realistic aspect of paranormal, pick it up. It's good. I ended up giving it a 3 out of 5 stars. This book is one of my favorite reads of April, and that is Written in the Stars by Aisha Saeed. And this is about a girl. She has overprotective parents, and they say no to everything. So it's almost graduation again for her high school, and she is told no, that she can't go to the prom, and her parents don't know about her secret boyfriend. So she lies and says that she's going to go to a friend's house, but in actuality she sneaks to this prom and dances with her boyfriend. Her parents crash the prom because they find out, because pictures are taken, they're put on social media, and her little brother has a cell phone and he's flipping through pictures, and there she is. So they decide to teach her a lesson and to show her her roots, and they take everybody, the whole family, to Pakistan, their roots. And so they stay with her uncle, who is very well known, and she has to like come to terms with that her parents are going to keep extending their stay. But what she doesn't know is that they're actually arranging for her to get married and leave her behind. And I absolutely adored her story. I was just heartbroken for Nayla, and what she had to go through, what happened to her, what her husband did to her. I just cried. I remember that day very well. I got to that part and I read it. That it was the end of the chapter, and I just closed it and I just started bawling my eyes out. I slowly read it at first because I didn't know how, like I said at the beginning of the month, there was spring break, and I just put the Daughters of Mars down. So all the emotions for Nayla. I hated her parents, and they were so delusional and psychotic. It's just, I know it's part of their culture, and that this does really happen still. Underage girls or arranged marriages to families just for money and a dowry, and it's just, but yes, I know Aisha Saeed has written another book called Amulet Unbound, with the beautiful hands with the thorny roses, or I think roses and vines and the henna. It's just, oh, I need that book. But yes, one of my favorites of the year. I love this book so much, and I will always sing its praises, and plus the cover. It's very pretty. Do not get this mixed up with the newest book that came out called Written in the Stars, that's set in Seattle. Totally different book. Okay, the next one that I read is Saints and Misfits by S.K. Ali. I was given this as a free art or a free NetGalley for in anticipation of Misfits in Love. That is the sequel coming out, and this is about a girl who she thinks she's a misfit. I forget her name. Very character driven. It's her story of how her brother has moved back home. He's changed his major, and their dad, she is Egyptian Muslim and her dad is Indian, and so they're split up. Her mom, her, and her brother are living in this apartment, and her dad has this big house because he's a businessman, and so she's always reading his daily emails because he has like a quote for successful people in his emails, and she lives by those mottos. And so her brother moves back home after changing his major because the dad refuses to pay for a major he doesn't think is going to be successful or make money. And so right off the bat, she gets into it with her brother and her mom because her mom wants her to move into her mom's room, to share a room with her mom, and give her room to her brother. And she's against that. She wants her privacy. She wants her freedom. She wants her own space. And so, and she helps watch after this older gentleman named Mr. Ram, and I loved Mr. Ram. He reminded me so much of some of my family members that told stories and was just giving life lessons in those stories, and it was just great. I loved it. I cried when something happened to him. Yeah, and the monsters. Yeah, I should have figured what the monster was, and I learned more about the Islamic religion, and it is own voices. So, yes, I ended up giving this a 3 out of 5 because it did slow down in some I can't speak today. It did slow down in some spots, and I was bored. I was reading it on my phone, and I was just, ooh, something good happened. Okay, you're whining. Ooh, I learned something. And so, yeah. Her constantly being judgy against Sarah for being saintly. And not saintly, but that's what she called Saint Sarah. Her brother's betrothed because she was uptight and very organized and into it. She was very anticipated read that was supposed to be in my March wrap up. I was supposed to have it in March, and it came at the end of March, so I read it in April, and that was Bridge of Souls by Victoria Schwab. This is the third book in the Cassidy Blake series, and this takes place in New Orleans. So I'm not going to go into details in this one because it's major spoilage, but this is about a girl named Cassidy. She has experienced near death. She almost drowned, and she was saved by a spirit of another boy who drowned. And so she is being haunted by this boy named Jacob, and they're best friends. And her parents, they're researchers. They're paranormal researchers. Her dad is mostly skeptic. Her mom, she believes in the paranormal. And so they eventually get this TV show called The Inspectors. And she is like, she's like the Zach Bagans of this show. And her dad is like Jay Wasley. Not Jay Wasley. He's not tech. Who's the historian. When they're doing their show, she says all the creepy bits and who died there and what happened, who was murdered, and he goes into the history like this was built in so and so and it burned down and it was given to this person and who that person, and it's great. So the first book took place in Edinburgh, Scotland, where she met another little girl who also had a near-death experience named Laura, and she teaches Cassidy all about the veil, which is a curtain that let Cassidy leave her corporeal body into the spirit world. And Laura teaches Cassidy how to move spirits on, and they meet their first baddie. Second book, they go to Paris, to the Paris catacombs, and that one's called Tunnel of Bones, and they meet a poltergeist, and they have to move him on. Can they? I don't know. So yeah, and there's a cat named Grimm, and he tries to escape all these hotels, and it's just great. So I ended up giving this a 4 out of 5 because, like I said, I was feeling kind of slumpy and not wanting to spend time reading because my free time was being taken up by moving things around and organizing things, and I didn't want to waste any other free time by reading. And I read this during my kids' school, and I didn't want to read to them because I wanted them to do other things so I could relax and plan things for the rest of the year. But anyways, I ended up giving it a 4 out of 5. Creeped out by the baddie in this one. Kind of bored by the beginning, and I loved the car that they ride in. I can't tell you what it is, but it's a named Fred. That's all I can say. So it's a different day. Technical difficulties. So I want to try to get through these last 5 books as quick as possible. So the next one that I read is Cog. I read this with my kids, and my daughter Ariana got this in a Owl Crate Junior box, I think last year, and it's about this 12-year-old boy named Cog. He's not a real boy, he is a robot, and so he is used for cognitive development. That means he's a robot that learns things. And so one day he sees this little chihuahua in the road about to get hit by a truck. So he runs out of his house where he's living, and he gets hit by this truck. And then when he wakes up, he's in this brand new space, and he finds out that his parent, or his creator, has been put on a new assignment and been sent away. And so they want to open up his brain to try to get this X module that was put specifically into his brain that makes him be able to do something that this company wants to put worldwide. Think of the popularity of Tesla and Apple put together, make it like a super company that wants to take over the world and control everybody. That's this company. I think it's called, I forget what the company is called. Unimind. That's the name of this company that wants to put chips into everybody's ear and eventually control them. And so this follows 5 robots, his little misfit gang. There's Ada, his sister. There's Proto, a dog that kept getting hit by a hockey stick. There's Trashbot that likes to pick up everybody's trash and dispose of it. And then there's Car, which is the best car. It's like the self-driving car. But yeah, it was cute, sweet. I ended up giving it a 4 out of 5, I think. I ended up giving it a 3 out of 5. It was very funny. Loved all of the cheesy references. Trashbot and Proto are my fave. But it was a little too violent for a middle grade. I mean, it was talking about blood and guts and gore and cutting your head open and touching your brain, even though it was a real boy, but it was a robot. These 4 books are graphic novels. So this one is book 3 of Amulet by Kazu Kibushi. It's called The Cloud Searchers, and I can't go into detail about this one if I don't want to spoil it. So it's about these 2 kids. Their mother gets kidnapped, and they have to go on this quest to rescue her, and then they have a journey to figure out and control this stone, which has Emily as a keeper, or yeah. And then they have to find out why the evil elves are doing what they're doing, and they have to stop them. And so this one I ended up giving a 3 out of 5. The artwork is freaking beautiful and creepy as hell. Let's see. Misket and Cogsley, something happens to them, and they're my favorite robots out of the whole series, especially Misket. He's a cute little pink bunny. Was not expecting wyverns. Makes me think of the Volcra from Shadow and Bone. And I don't trust the new group at the end. And the elf story, I wasn't a fan in the first 2 books, but the storyline for the elves, it just got more creepy and darker, and it just got a whole lot better, and I was here for it. So yes, I really recommend the series, and I want to be reading book 4 this month. And my daughter, who started me on this series this year, she's going to be reading book 5. So yes, highly recommend. Okay, the next graphic novel was A Wrinkle in Time by Madeline Ingalls, and it was adapted and illustrated by Hope Larson. This was a monotone color, or monochromatic. It was all blue and black and white. And I read the book out loud to my kids years ago, and in preparation for the Disney movie. The movie was not that great, even though it had like a spectacular cast. The movie was just bad. I liked the novel, but this one made me realize that I had forgotten all about the story. I did not remember this story being so religious, and I was trying to remember things like, wait, did that really happen? So I ended up giving this a 3 out of 5. Calvin seemed more controlling over Meg, which was not the vibe I got from the book, the novel, or the movie. But he was just like, no, you're going to stay here, and I'm telling you to do this, and you're going to do that. And I'm like, dude, you're not, she's not your property. I'm like, I was very pissed off about that. But, yeah, and it's not how I pictured the characters, especially the mom and dad in my head. Honestly, I was thinking of Chris Pine when the dad came up, and I was just like, okay. And Oprah. And Mindy Kaling. And Reese Witherspoon. Yeah. But, and the ending of this one seemed so much more rushed. I remembered the ending very well of the novel, and I was hoping that it would have been included, but it seems like they saved Calvin and then they're right back home, the end. I know that it was a lot longer in the novel, so I'm thinking that the author just rushed and didn't care about the end. But yeah, so I ended up giving this a 3 out of 5. Did I enjoy it? Nah. I just think that the novel is past its prime. It's a classic, but I'm seeing so much more people have problems with it, and it not make sense, and just, yeah. So, I didn't lose sleep over this. Another graphic novel was Smile by Raina Telgemeier. This is about a 12-year-old 6th grader who is in Girl Scouts, and one night she's getting out of the car with her 2 friends and her troop, and she's running home to her house, and she trips and falls and severely injures her 2 front teeth. And this is her 2-year journey about getting her teeth and her mouth and her smile fixed. She has to have dentures, not dentures, but she has to have replacements, she has to have implants, she has to have root canals, which was very traumatic for me. I was like, and there was a part where I was just like this. And my oldest daughter, who read this, she just started busting out laughing at me. And I was like, you're rude. And I think my husband's calling my daughter. Hold on. But yeah, I connected with this because it brought back nostalgia for me. And it also made me realize that my daughter, who's 12, is going to be similar to this soon. And it talks about middle school and high school and boys and makeup and yeah. So if I wasn't prepared already, I'm definitely not prepared for my daughter growing up. But yeah, I ended up giving this a... Oh, I didn't rate this. I think I gave this a 4 out of 5. And it also reminded me to make my my 3 daughters' dentist appointment. So, because they have not been since 2019. Because COVID. Is that bad? Yeah. So, whoops. Last book we read in April. My daughter wanted to read it this month. And I don't know why she didn't want to wait until October, because this would have been perfect. But it was Coraline by Neil Gaiman. This is the graphic novel of his book. And growing up, I used to love this movie. I love stop motion movies. Chicken Run, Coraline, Nightmare Before Christmas, yeah, Corpse Bride, all that. So this is about a little girl. Her and her parents move into this house that has been renovated into apartments. And so she has a upstairs neighbor and a downstairs neighbor. Well, one day she is so freaking bored, and she goes into this drawing room in her apartment that holds all of their antique furniture, and she sees this door. And she goes and tries it, and it's locked. And so she goes and asks her mom, why is that door locked? What's in there? And she goes, and her mom tells her, nothing. Why is it locked? Well, I'll unlock it and show you. And the mom opens the door, and there's a brick wall. Okay, so that night, Coraline, as she's going to sleep, she hears this little like rats, and it was just sick. And so she gets up and goes into the drawing room, and she sees the door open and this corridor. So she decides to go into this corridor, and she enters what looks like an apartment that is exactly like hers. And then she sees her parents, or what she thinks is her parents. And it turns out to be her other father and her other mother. And they have buttons for eyes. And so this is adapted by P. Craig Russell. And more gory than the movie? God. Do I recommend this? Yes. It is not... if you are easily spooked, don't read it. So that is it for this video. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. Hit that subscribe button. And leave an emoji down below if you want to. If you want to. You don't have to. If you're a silent watcher, hit that thumbs up, please. And I will see you in my next video.